In today's competitive environment, technical skills are the entry to play. Psychologists and experts agree that at best, only 1 person out of 10 accomplishes the success they set out to attain. The stakes have never been higher for you and for your business, and the opportunity has never been greater. I'd like to share 5 big ideas with you today. 5 relentless mindsets. And here's the good news. All 5 mindsets are simple and easy to develop. What I'd like you to do is have an open mind and see how you can incorporate these core principles into your business and into your personal life. When faced with an immense challenge or roadblock that's going to become physically or mentally painful, you need to stick to your guns, buckle down, be relentless with your goal, and realize that the defeat of any failure or setback is there if you continue to bounce back and not quit. Being relentless is not doing what other people can't do, it's what other people won't do. Whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon, you will achieve by becoming relentless. Nothing and nobody will stop us from achieving relentless success. Stop thinking, start doing. People hate to lose what's already theirs. Train your mind to already own your desired outcome, and then you'll fight like hell not to lose it. Setbacks are a part of the journey. Be prepared to bounce back in order to quickly recover and get back on track. Setbacks don't stop you. Setbacks make you stronger. Let's seize our success and make today our day that we make a decision to lock our sights on our goal. Stop thinking and do. Eat nails for breakfast by not giving up. Own it, then own it. We'll believe it when we see it and bounce back always. Now is our time to push the boundaries and to become relentless. And by doing that, we'll always win. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's take the clothing industry, which is one of the most competitive within retail. In addition, most clothing can be purchased online from thousands of retailers. But one item within the clothing industry had not generally been purchased over the internet. And can you guess what that was? Shoes. It was shoes, partially because the average shoe purchaser wants to try on lots of shoes before making a purchase, right? And they might visit numerous stores to check out different brands. It was 1998, and footwear was a $40 billion industry in the United States, of which catalog sales made up 5% or $2 billion. But online sales were almost non-existent. There are literally thousands of different brands in the footwear industry. So how did one company get online, rise to the top, and change the habits of thousands of shoe buyers? Well, the year again was 1998, and Nick Swinnerm was walking around a mall in San Francisco looking for a pair of shoes. One store had the right size, but not the right color. Another store had the right color, but not the right size. Sound familiar? Nick spent the next hour in the mall walking from store to store, finally going home empty-handed and frustrated. Being relentless, he thought, why not do an online shoe store? He went to Footwear Etc. in Sunnyvale, California, and told them, I'll take some pictures, put your shoes online, and if people buy them, I'll buy them from you at full price. The store said, okay, and he got a few orders. Nick then locked his sights and took a job as a contractor for Silicon Graphics to make money and start raising funds for his company in the website that he called shoesite.com. He received money from friends and coworkers, even from his chiropractor. When he raised $150,000, he quit Silicon Graphics and hired a couple of buddies to join him. Competitors started to pop up, and he thought shoesite.com wasn't distinctive as a brand. Enter Zappos. Nick originally put up the website just to prove that people would actually be willing to buy shoes online. Soon they were getting $2,000 worth of orders a week. But they weren't making any money because anytime an order was placed, listen to this, Nick would run to the local shoe store, buy the item, and then ship it out to the customer. The real business idea was to eventually form partnerships with hundreds of brands and have each of the brands provide Zappos with an inventory feed of what was in each of their warehouses. Zappos would take orders from customers on the internet, then send the order to the manufacturer of each brand, which would then ship directly to the Zappos customer. This is known as a drop ship relationship. And although it already existed in many other industries, drop shipping had never ever been done before in footwear. Nick again locked his sights and was betting that they would be able to convince the brands of the next shoe show to start drop shipping. Then Zappos would not have to own any inventory or worry about running a warehouse. As a result of being relentless and locking his sights, Nick's bet paid off. During the last 10 years, the company has grown from almost no sales to more than $1 billion in annual gross merchandise sales, driven primarily by repeat customers and word of mouth. Now, being relentless as an athlete is paramount towards success. Athletics and physical activity have always been important to me. It's a part of my DNA. Not that I'm overly concerned about my health, I am concerned, but I do enjoy the feeling of a good workout. And as they say, nothing tastes as good as thin feels. Because of this, I'm always on the lookout for activities that can push my physical efforts to the next level. Now, since football was always one of my favorite sports, and I excelled at track, I decided to try out with a professional football team. I'm not real tall, and my body is built with a low center of gravity, so I tried out as a running back. Now, most professional players are drafted from the NCAA or get recruited at combine events. But many of us need to prove ourselves the old-fashioned way, by showing our relentless desire and skill. Now, going back to statistics, only 1.5% of NCAA athletes become pros, and I wasn't even an NCAA football player. Now, I hadn't played football in a number of years, but I was in great shape. I got the open tryouts early in order to stretch and get my game attitude set. I thought I had stretched sufficiently, but as we began our group warm-ups, I pulled my left calf muscle. Now, if you've ever injured your calf, you know the pain is excruciating. The pain was so great that I wanted to quit. As a matter of fact, I wanted to lay down and cry. But this was the beginning of the tryouts, and I could just see the other athletes thinking, well, another one bites the dust. I hid my injury as best I could, but I did have a noticeable limp through the rest of the warm-ups. Even with the pain, I ran the 40-yard sprint and beat about half of the other contenders. I made it through all the drills. I caught every pass thrown to me, and I showed my best moves. During one of the running back drills, I slipped and fell, rolled, and popped right back up again. The net result, only 5 of the group made the team. I wasn't one of them. Even though I didn't make the team, I did complete the tryouts a little worse for wear. But as Paul Harvey used to say, now the rest of the story. I didn't try out for the team years ago. I tried out last year. Now, I'm no spring chicken. Most of the athletes were less than half my age, but how many over-the-hill athletes would defy reason and put themselves through this? Now, I was told that I was out of my mind, but in the end, I proved to myself that being relentless moves you toward greatness, both mentally and physically, and puts a bump on your self-image. Now, Sam was a business executive, and he wasn't really relentless. Sam was deep in debt and was having a difficult time seeing his way out. Creditors were closing in on him. Suppliers were demanding payment. So he went to the park in order to ease his tension and his frustrations. Sam sat on the bench with his head in his hands, wondering if anything could save his company from bankruptcy. An old man sat down next to Sam and said, "I can see that something is troubling you." After listening to Sam's problems, the old man told him that he could help. He asked Sam his name, wrote out a check, pushed it into his hand, and said, "Take this money, meet me here exactly 1 year from today, and you can pay me back at that time." Then the old man turned and disappeared. In Sam's hand was a check for $500,000, $500,000, signed by John D. Rockefeller, at the time the richest man in the world. What would you have thought if Bill Gates or Warren Buffett handed you that check? Sam now owned it, then owned it, and decided to put the uncashed check in his safe. Just knowing it was there made him relentless and gave him the strength to work out a way to save his business. Since Sam now owned it, he negotiated better deals and extended terms of payment. Within a few months, he was out of debt and making money once again. Exactly 1 year later, Sam returned to the park with the uncashed check. At the agreed upon time, Sam's benefactor showed up. But just as Sam was about to hand back the check and share his success story, a nurse came running up and grabbed the old man. She said, "I'm so glad I caught him. I hope he hasn't been bothering you. He's always escaping from the rest home and telling people he's John D. Rockefeller." And she led the old man away. Sam just sat there, stunned. All year long, by owning it, he'd been wheeling and dealing, buying and selling, convinced he had $500,000 behind him. Suddenly he realized that it wasn't the imagined money that had turned his life around. Since he owned it, then owned it, it was this newfound self-confidence that gave him the power to achieve anything he went after. Who here has ever run a marathon? Okay, not many. Who's ever run around the block? Okay. Who's ever run around the block with one leg? Probably none of you. Now imagine running a marathon with only one leg. Or how about running 143 marathons in 143 days with one leg? That's one marathon every day on one leg and a prosthesis. That's insane. Now, one evening, our marathon runner crashed into the back of a pickup truck. He came out of it with only a sore right knee. 3 months later, the pain had gotten worse, and he finally went to a hospital where he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer. He was told his leg had to be amputated 6 inches above his knee with a 50% chance of survival. With the help of an artificial leg, he bounced back and was walking 3 weeks after the amputation. He endured 16 months of chemotherapy as he watched fellow cancer patients suffer and die from the osteosarcoma. He ended his treatment with a new purpose. He felt he owed his survival to medical advances and wanted to live his life in a way that would help others find courage by being relentless. He was given an article about the first amputee to complete the New York City Marathon. That story inspired him to begin an 18-month training program where he ran over 3,000 miles on one leg and a prosthesis. Not only was he training for the marathon, but he locked his sights on running the length of the country in the hope of increasing cancer awareness. The training was painful because of the additional pressure he had to place on both his good leg and his stump, which led to bone bruises, blisters, and can you imagine, excruciating pain. But he found that after about 20 minutes of each run, he crossed a pain threshold and the run became easier. He completed a 17-mile road race, finishing last, 10 minutes behind his closest competitor. But he finished. he now locked his sights on raising $1 for each of Canada's 24 million citizens. The next month, he sent a letter to the Canadian Cancer Society announcing his goal. He owned it, then owned it, by stating that he would conquer his disability even if he had to crawl every last mile. The Cancer Society was skeptical of his dedication, but agreed to support him once he had acquired sponsors. The Ford Motor Company donated a camper van, and Adidas donated his running shoes. So he stopped thinking and began the Marathon of Hope when he dipped his prosthetic right leg in the Atlantic Ocean near St. John's, Newfoundland. He ran the equivalent of a full marathon every single day. Now, in the first few days, he ran through gale-force winds, heavy rain, and a snowstorm. Then he faced new challenges when he entered Quebec, since he didn't speak French and drivers who continually forced him off the road. He ate nails for breakfast as the physical demands of running a marathon every day took their toll on his body. He refused to take a day off even on his 22nd birthday. He frequently suffered shin splints, an inflamed knee, and dizzy spells. More than halfway to his goal, he stopped after he suffered an intense coughing fit. He was relentless as he resumed running, with crowds along the way shouting out their encouragement. But a few miles later, he was short of breath and had chest pains. He asked his best friend to drive him to a hospital. Next day, he held a press conference when he announced that the cancer had returned and had spread to his lungs. Terry Fox was forced to end his Marathon of Hope after running close to a marathon a day for 143 days and over 3,000 miles in 6 provinces. The relentless Terry Fox locked his sight and had raised almost $2 million by the time he was forced to abandon the marathon. Can you believe that? $2 million. Now, a week after his run ended, the Canadian television network organized a nationwide telethon. Donations of over $24 million have been raised. Terry Fox had reached his goal of raising $1 for every Canadian citizen. Terry was given Canada's Top Sportsman Award and was named Canada's Newsmaker of the Year for both 1980 and 1981. Terry Fox was a national hero. In the following months, Terry continued to eat nails for breakfast as he received multiple chemotherapy treatments, but the cancer continued to spread. He was readmitted to the hospital with chest congestion and pneumonia. With his family by his side, Terry Fox fell into a coma and died on June 28, 1981. The government of Canada ordered flags lowered to half-mast and honor reserved only for statesmen. Terry's legacy is the annual Terry Fox Run, which has grown to involve millions in over 60 countries and is now the world's largest one-day fundraiser for cancer research. To date, over $750 million has been raised in Terry's name. Terry Fox believed the key to his success was his relentless toughness and bouncing back. Terry achieved a high level of success by embracing those core mindsets, and we can do exactly that.